Hi, everybody. It's Michelle D'Ambra and Josephine Zanetti. Hi,
Hi,
Josephine.
I'm Michelle. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You look really nice with that pink sweater.
Thank you. It's been a while. I definitely had a lot of things going on and didn't want to overwhelm myself. And then Josephine had some things going on. And so now we're finally both able to have a video.
Yes, yes, because both of us have been not just busy, but really things going on in our lives. That's for
Mhm.
sure, right?
Yep.
Between last year and this year, and time just flies by, actually. But
It
now
does.
here we are. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, but so people know where we're at and what's going on with us too.
Yep, yep. So for me, I moved. I also went back to work for my old boss full time. He said that I can continue doing this, so which is great. So I have some variety in my life, and I have some stability with vacation time and benefits and all those things. And then when I moved into my condo, my uncle passed away, who I'm renting from, him and my aunt. So just a lot of different things going on, and now things are settling down, and so I didn't want to overwhelm myself. And then Josephine can update you on her.
Yeah, actually, last year during Easter, one of my sister and I's friend, we had a friend there in British Columbia, and she was doing okay. She ended up being sick. She went to the hospital and thinking she was gonna die. She asked my sister for a priest for her last rites and all of this. And she actually miraculously got better and she went home. And then from there, she started to go downhill because, I mean, not it was not physically, it was more emotional because she couldn't do the things that she could do before. She was 80 years old. Anyways, she ended up going to see the doctor because she was complaining a lot. And the doctor ended up giving her a cocktail for euthanasia and she passed away. So that was a big, big hit for us. And it was like unbelievable how easy it is, by the way, to end up just having to call your doctor and say, well, I don't want to live anymore. And they don't ask any questions. And oh, okay, all right. So here's the way you can do it. So basically, that's what happened. And that was a very hard hit on both my sister and I. And then, I mean, things progressed. I was really busy with people that came to the house in order to do different work because I ended up having issues with the workers and stuff. But this year, in the last 2 months, with my mom going through a major, major, I wouldn't call it retracing. I'm not sure if it's even a retracing. It could be a retracing. Anything's possible, but it certainly looked worse than a retracing. It could be, but the fact is, her memory wasn't the same anymore when she went through. It's like she went through a heart attack. It was like a stroke, and only by the fact that she ended up taking an Advil. Okay, so medication. She was in pain all night, and she said okay, maybe I could have an Advil because then the pain could go away. And she took the Advil, but that didn't agree and with her at all. She ended up throwing up, and at night she started to do the shakes, and it was like having watching somebody who goes through withdrawal, okay, of heavy heroin withdrawal, really. And but really what was going on was really, I think, an attack. And by the grace of God, it didn't get worse, but uh, throughout, now it's been 2 months and it's better every day. And but it took a long time. We even had a priest come over, and because we didn't know what was going to happen, we could have called 911. We didn't. We hung in, Gina and I. It was very, very hard to hang in, but we did because we knew that uh, I think both of us hung out. Like what we did is like we were able, I was doing my rosary a lot while that was going on, even through a big complaints. And on those few nights that we stayed up with her, it was like not just the rosary, but also knowing that God comes and get you when he's ready. Basically, he created us. He knows when we come, when we're going to be coming here, and he knows when we're getting out of here. So if he knows when we're getting out of here, that means that none of us can really do anything when it's time for us to go. Okay, unless it's precipitated by murder, or there's certain things that he has no control of. Okay, all right, so and that's another thing. It's like I try not to lean on my own understanding with stuff like that, but it's so that's what kept me not calling 911. I said, if she's meant, she's meant, she's going. Okay. So now, um, the way it is today, um, with this thing with the mind, it's better. But nonetheless, it's like it's better, but it's like almost going back to the way it was before, in the sense of being more aggressive again. So, um, this thing that we label as dementia, I think, is a label, basically. Okay. Uh, she hasn't been diagnosed with that, but when she kind of got out of this stuff, she didn't recognize Gina and I as being her daughters. Like she says, well, I got two daughters and you're not it. And she says, I expect you and her to be out of here within a week. Okay. It was like, oh, wow. So, all right. So we had to deal with that. Okay. So it's a good thing that I had work done on myself and Gina as well. Okay. So, all right. We're not her daughter. And she started to talk about the two girls that was here, which was Gina and I, that they're not really nice. They're really not nice. And ding and dang and they, okay. So that was at the beginning, and then also disoriented, not knowing if it was night or day, day and night, and it just started now. I swear, not even within a week, where she's sleeping more, and she sleeps at night, and she realizes she can't take her medicine always like in the middle of the night. Okay, so we had to bring her back slowly but surely, bring her mind back, you know. And so that's coming back. But the pain, it all started with one thing. It appears as though she had pain on her left side, and she did, because it was so real that she had pain. But maybe 3 to a month ago, before that happened, she started to ask for this notebook that she lost, and she couldn't find it. And of course, we were kind of like Gina and I looking all over the house for this notebook that she says was right next to her on her coffee table. Okay, never saw it. All right. But even then, it didn't click to Gina and I, because I didn't know anything about these symptoms. Okay. I never really dealt with this, I never looked into it, nothing. Okay. So I still didn't know. And I thought, really, quite honestly, that's her. Basically, that's her character. All right. So what ended up happening is, from that, it was the pain 1 month later, because she couldn't find it, because it was probably a notebook of 50 years ago. Okay. And so then it was crucial pain and all. But then there's a pattern that developed. And that pattern is, every time she's looking for something and she can't find it, it's the pain. Okay. So that was the big, 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 big thing that made me realize that there are some labels people give to people, to, like, doctors give labels, a psychologists give labels, and I mean, when you read it, it's right down the alley. I mean, it's right on, but they have no research. They have no research. They don't know where it's coming from. They have no idea where the hell this is coming from,
Well,
and
they
why
have to
is it?
label it to treat it.
Yes.
So they have to find a label. They give us the label, then they have their protocol to follow that label.
Yeah, and then give them, based on that, they can give them the medication that is necessary for that.
Mhm.
It's like high blood pressure, right? It's and in our field, in the work that we do, you and I, it would be copper toxic. Let's say you're
Mhm.
very, very copper toxic, and it's not that you're not. You got all the symptoms of a person who's really coppery, but it's a label nonetheless because there is something much deeper than just copper toxic. It's
Mhm.
like the biochemistry of a person, let's say. Before that biochemistry started to be upside down and all going not good and being like in complete chaos in the body and in the mind. Before that happened, there was a baby that was born from a mother that might have been also in chaos,
Mhm.
let's say. And I'm sure she probably maybe had a lot of copper in her body as well. But there's a problem way deeper than that, I say, and that they don't look into the cause of the issues that most of us have. So we always, all of us, only always check the surface. So we're looking at the surface. We think we're developing, we're going deeper in our stuff, we're eliminating all these toxins that really, quite honestly, we're not able to do eliminate everything because everything is fake now. I mean, everything we eat, we drink, it's sprayed, even though it's organic. Part of it is because I mean, every day we got these chemtrails, and so where's that chemtrail going? It's not just pissing on me or on one tomato; it's pissing everywhere, right?
Mhm.
So, and that's all chemicals anyway. So we are doing the best we can with what we have. There's no question about that. But there is a deeper issue here at play that is very superficial. It's
Mhm.
superficial, and I think that it's only gotten worse in the last 60 years in the modern world that we live in, only because we have all walked away from a um, a way of life that was there 100 years ago or even before, of course. But in our generation, it's gotten worse, much worse, where God doesn't exist anymore. We have machines that are going to be replacing God soon. Food is not necessary. They're telling us we don't need to eat meat anymore. And even if we eat meat, who knows if that meat's going to be good? Like right now in Alberta, the whole place is burning down. Well, some sections, and enough, where it's burning, it's where the farmlands are. It's
Mhm.
not burning anywhere else. It's like where the cattles are, where the pigs are, you know. And so it's, I think we need to bring all of us back to reality at one point and and realize what we've lost. We've lost a lot of stuff. We have a lot of religion out there. Okay. Everybody thinks that all these religions, if they're all put together, it's all going to work and we're all going to be in peace and stuff, but it ain't going to be that way. I think people have lost a sense of history. They don't know what history is anymore. And I mean, I'm not telling you me, I'm better. I'm educating myself only on that problem my mom's got,
Mhm.
right? And it's like it's not her problem. It's everybody else's problem because there's actually a pandemic of that stuff. All
Mhm.
these people, we have some on our programs who are not only 50, they're only 50 and they start having Alzheimer.
Mhm.
Okay. So what are we going to blame it on? Are we only going to blame, is it EMF? Is it, but when you read the symptoms, it's like, oh, wow, that's what I have. Right. And there is some truth if we eat better. Right. There is some truth if we eat better. Like with now my mom, her mind is coming back, like I
Mhm.
said, because I'm not giving in her cookies anymore. If you want a cookie, I'm not giving in. I may look like a real bitch, but I don't care at this point.
Well,
Right?
there's certain things that influence, it's not just our what we intake with our food and our supplements, but also personality. So like if
Yes.
somebody likes to have a rough personality, then they're going to probably accumulate more iron in the body, things that'll make them more iron fist. I have a family member like that. So, that a lot of it too is how we are, we will change our biochemistry. So it's
That's
not
right.
just our, and that's why I try to explain
Yes.
to my clients, it's not
Yes.
it's not just your biochemistry that affects you, but it's how you are that affects your biochemistry. So when we, and getting back to what you talk about labels, we don't really want to label things, because then if we get this truth, and Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about all the time,
Yes.
is that it becomes like our reality. And I had a naturopath I worked with many years ago, in my 30s, and he told me not to put any labels. He said, this is out of balance, this is out of balance, but we're just going to focus on making it in balance. But he didn't want to put any labels in it on anything, because he said it would limit my healing. So, that's true. So we don't want to have a diagnosis. I can see where some people have a sense of safety in that, because then you can have a plan of action, and then, it's not the unknown. When people are in fear, they don't do well in the unknown, which makes them more fearful.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of things. And, I personally believe that if we can work on the duality within ourselves, and we can transcend that and not have labels, and to work through all that, we can live a little better, and we don't have to be as worried about EMFs and, this whole list of things, chemtrails and stuff like that, because you're living in a high vibration that doesn't acknowledge good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad.
And even if, let's say, hypothetically, the good and bad is there, there's nothing, we have no control of the good and bad that keeps on happening, the chemtrails, the this, the that. We have no, we can mitigate. All we can do is mitigate. Right?
Yeah, because it's going to be there no matter what. You can't change it. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to, whatever, Wi-Fi is all around me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just make sure that my body can handle it better, because we're moving into this way of living that we can't control. So the best thing I can do is to keep my emotions, my spirit, and my body in a higher vibration, so that it doesn't affect me as much.
That's right. So, I mean, this whole thing with labeling people, and I really like the fact that you said it's like the iron gets built up. Exactly what happens. If you already have a tendency of being angry, the iron, it's not the other way around, where the iron, because this is how the Chinese deals with things, by the way, the traditional Chinese medicine. They say that the more angry you get, the worse it is for your liver. The worse, the more that your liver is sick, then you're more angry as well. So vice versa. Okay, so I can see that with the stuff that we have built up in our body, that it's not just an emotional thing. Of course, there's the copper pipes that we have to deal with that could be affecting us and stuff. But nonetheless, it's like the way people have been brought up as well, from the moment they've been conceived. Actually, the whole time the mother kept the baby 9 months in her stomach, and how she was she somebody who was angry? Was she smoking while she had the baby? Was she happy to have a baby and stuff like this? The baby comes out, looks all nice and cute, but already it's taken on the traits of her mother, of the mother already. And if the mother was really angry, probably the baby's going to be sick, and he's going to have all kinds of little things that is not working very well for him. So the biochemistry is true up to where we also need to take responsibility for ourselves here, where we need to look and how can we change things, because we could do a program like we suggest and eliminate a lot of the toxic metals and bring our minerals pretty like ideal, let's say. Okay, very, but we're work in progress. We'll never be we're never, I mean, I know this is going to be controversial for some people, but we're not Jesus, we're not God. So, I mean, that's a stress in and of itself. Okay, so we try to imitate. There's nothing wrong with imitating, but to be quite the same, it'd be difficult. So I think we need to really relax, and also not be so medically inclined. I mean, if I would have been so medically inclined, uh, when this all happened with my mom and it was awful, I think that I would have called 911. But by the grace of God, I wasn't. I'm so grateful for that. But it's not to say that other people, because that's a mistake. You see, there's consequences to the actions that we take. Had we done that, there would have been consequences, and the consequences might not have been so good, because she could have lived, because if it wasn't her time, she could have lived, let's say. If they would have not given her morphine, let's say, she could have lived, but she wouldn't be able to walk right now like she's doing on the balcony, and she keeps knocking because she's like a 5-year-old. Okay. And she's walking up and down the deck.
Uh-huh.
But so she started this week because her intention is to start walking on the
Mhm.
streets. Okay. So the thing is, this would have probably would not happened. So it's been stressful, but it was worth um, hanging in,
Mhm.
hanging in. It was worth hanging in, no matter how careful. My sister and I had her dead. I swear,
Yeah,
we were both
I
crying.
know.
She was gone. All right.
Yeah.
So it's like, so this is like a miracle, but only this is where God shows himself up. He shows himself when you are able to not engage. And
Mhm.
that's in everything. It's not just in these situations, a situation like that. It's in all situations that you and I and everybody else goes through. If, let's say, they go through a serious retracing and right away they think, oh God, I'm dying.
I'm dying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you are dying, it's because that's exactly God intends that.
Mhm.
He's got your back. If it's time, it's time. If it's not time, this is where we need to start putting our faith, because he knows when and the time and day when it's time to take a hike. Okay. So we can't blame people around. Oh, if I wouldn't have taken that pill, maybe I would have survived. Well, some people survive even with the worst pills.
Mhm.
Well, they may get paralyzed with the pills because that's the consequences. Those are the consequences. So this is when I think, going naturally, I think there's a lot to say about good science. There's a lot to say about science. I think doctors are wonderful when you break your arm and
Right. Or you need stitches or you need
exactly.
surgery.
That's
But when
right.
you're going through a healing crisis,
Yeah.
especially when you're on a program like what we do,
Yeah.
and I had a healing crisis when I did a liver flush maybe 6 years ago, and I was on the floor. I was so sick. My liver was so overburdened by the toxins that were flooding through me that everything was coming out my mouth, my and I was shaking, and I knew that it was a
Wow.
healing crisis. I knew it was a healing crisis and I got through it. But if somebody was around me that didn't understand that, they probably would have taken me to the hospital, you
Wow.
know.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So there's times when these things happen, you're best when you're alone, unless you're with people who are very supportive around you.
Mhm.
Same thing. And even let's say whether there's, even when you have an accident and nothing is broken, sometimes staying home and just healing. It's like, I think I broke my ribs, and break a broken rib. There's nothing they can do other than we have to wait that it
Mhm.
heals. Okay, so we have to wait and wait and wait, and it takes time before it heals. Well, I think it's like that with most everything in our lives. We have to be careful. If you know that there's certain foods that's going to cause you allergies and it's going to cause you problems, then don't eat it. That's the best thing. That's the best advice. Don't eat it for now. Your body's under stress. Psychologically, you're not in
Well, their
line,
gut can't
you know?
handle it.
That's
Years
it.
ago, I had I guess, a leaky gut, and that was from antibiotic abuse for many, many years because
Yeah.
I've had laryngitis, strep throat, like all you can think of, and I took too many antibiotics, and then I healed, and I would eat things, and my body would attack because I was allergic to almost everything, and now I'm fine. I mean, I
Yeah.
stay away from certain things like milk products because to me that's kind of gross. Like I never drank milk. But I can tolerate a lot more because my gut's healthy now.
So if you would eat things like raw milk and raw cheese, would that do the same? Would that have the
I don't
same effect?
know. I think I just stay away from it because to me it's kind of like in my head it's gross. It's like mucus. And I don't want mucusy things in my body because I do notice I can eat some cheeses. But when I do, I notice that I get phlegmy. So I don't really have a desire for milk products. To me, it's just milk products are like sweet and low. Like there's just certain things that my body says that is just not right. So I
That's
don't.
it.
Yeah.
That's right. So it all depends on the food. Same here. If let's say I have corn chips, I get the phlegm right away. I mean,
Yeah.
even if I only have four. Of course, it's very difficult to only have four chips when you have the bag in front of you. That's the problem,
I
right?
think
That
everybody could say that
yeah.
they've
All
overindulged
right.
on chips.
But really, the blue corn chips every time it's the same with pasta. Even if I eat it, gluten free, it's the same thing. It doesn't really do the job right away. I may not get it right away, but I'll get it the next day because I didn't. It takes time to digest, you know.
Mhm.
So it's kind of the same thing. So nutrition, there's no question, is very important because I mean you don't want to get into all the food that is on the market. I mean, 100 years ago, we did not have, meat the way
Our
it's
soil was
processed.
better,
Oh,
our environment was better. And look at the older generation, they were actually more healthy than we are. The young generation is so depleted. And I think that a lot of the emotional outbursts and the things that are going on are because they've had these passed down, imbalances generation after generation. Look at when TV dinners and microwave came out. I mean, we passed down a lot of bad things with that.
oh my
Um,
goodness,
yeah, so
the
the young
crab
generation
dinner
is,
and all of that
oh, I
stuff.
know,
Remember
that's all
that?
we did.
Oh my God, it was easy. So, oh, well, let's go. I mean, my God, when I look back at the awful food, I mean, I had good food when my mom was there, but when we would be alone, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste time on trying to do anything that was really healthy, unless it was during the summer when my grandparents brought us food from the garden. But other than that, in wintertime, I mean, God forbid, right? So, but
Mhm.
the thing is that nothing is the same as it was then, and it's the way it is now. And even if you have your own garden, you have your own farm. I have a client who's got her own farm, and she's got sinuses problems because she's overworked. The poor woman, it's overworked. She works, she loves her job. She loves, I'm going to send you a link of her YouTube that she started, and she loves doing what she does. She's 60 years old, but she's been doing this all her life. Her parents were into it as well. They were farmers, but she's really exhausted, right? So it's not even a job for women to be farmers, really, because it's hard. But
Mhm.
and we're not fed as well either. And she's getting everything from her farm. She's got the vegetables from her farm, she's got the meat from her farm, she's got everything. And even with the good diet, the good nutrition that she's getting, she's still not 100% because she's overworked. The body is
Yeah, and that's
you
the
know
thing is people have to understand that it's not, it's a whole bunch of things. Like you can
yeah,
fix your diet, you
yeah,
can, quit your job and start resting, but if you don't deal with your trauma, you don't deal with your spiritual imbalance, all these other things, it doesn't matter. You can do all the right perfect things, but if you're not working on this, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, that will definitely, you know, take a lot from you. I know that I actually am happier by myself. If I can't be in a relationship with somebody who is working on their stuff, then I don't want to be in a relationship at all because relationships bring up our traumas. And so we react and we're pushing each other's buttons and stuff. But if you're in a relationship with somebody who's completely not wanting to do any kind of work, then you're going to have problem. You're going to have health problems. You know, a lot of my clients come to me and I know that they're in relationships, they're unhealthy just by looking at their hair test or
No,
just,
no,
you know,
it's
their
very good what
conversation.
you just said, actually, because in relationship, unless you find a partner that's willing to work through, because I mean, we're nobody until we're completed with somebody else, okay? And it's not just men and women, this is how we created us. And it's good to have the other half with us. But if the other half is not prepared to work out the issues that come up in our own traumas, whether we're in our
Mhm.
fear, we don't trust the person, and communicate, then it becomes even more traumatic. It becomes where you could even lose your mind, basically, with this, because
Yes.
it becomes almost demonic at one point, because it's scary. It's very scary to be with people who are not prepared to work these issues, and they don't have the compassion for themselves nor for the other human being that they're with
Right.
and married to, you know? So
Mhm.
these are things that uh, are very important. And so it's like you said, it's not just one thing, it's a lot. My mom is on the program. Some people are wondering how come this happened to your mother and why did that happen. Now listen, I'm not God, I cannot answer you these questions,
Yeah, but
because
she's in
not
her 80s. She's got
that's
a
right, she's
whole
86.
lifetime of things. So it's
That's
like,
right.
you know, I was talking to my client yesterday. He's in his 60s. And it's like, he's like, when, you know, I've been on the program 4 years. I go, yeah, but prior to that, you spent your entire life not on the program, you know, so it takes some time. And again, dealing with the emotional stuff, you know, the traumas, the things that we all avoid things, you know, some people do it in very obvious ways. They they drink, they smoke, they do drugs. You know, those people, it's very obvious that they're avoiding. But then you have people, I'm a workaholic, you know, I tend to throw myself in work. That's another form of avoidance. You know, you could watch too much TV. You can have your nose in other people's business because you're avoiding your own business. So you're in other people's business and, you know, coming across as the person that's very helpful, but you're really just not facing your own crap. So, you
That's
know,
right.
we all have it. Just some people, it looks a little better on them because they're not in a in the obvious self-destructive thing, you know, overeating, whatever. So we have to all understand that we have things that we avoid. So then you go, okay, well, what can I do about it? Well, first you recognize it. Like I know that about myself. I know that being productive or working too much, I could be avoiding. So if I see myself doing that, I have to stop and say, am I doing this because I need to, because this is situational and that there's something going on that I have to work a little bit more? Or am I throwing myself into the work to avoid? You know, so you become a little bit more self aware so you can recognize these patterns within yourself.
That's right. And so an examination of consciousness is a very important thing to do on a daily basis. When you live with people, like now I'm with my mom and sister, when you're around people, even if you want to deny your own bad behavior, they're right there making sure that you haven't forgotten it. Okay. So it always comes up. So if you don't want to do your own examination, they'll do it for you, which is fine. You know, it's fine. I got to deal with it. And I'm always thinking, because with this kind of thing that happened with my mom, I'm thinking, of course, like you said, it's 86 years. And although she's done work, she stopped alcohol, she went in AA, she did adult children, it don't matter, because there was things way, way deeper than that. And also, when you do all of those programs, you think you're better than anybody else, by the way. Okay. You think,
But that's
well,
how
at
we get
least,
blinded.
yes.
Then we can get blinded behind that. And denial is amazing. And we
Yeah.
can always see it in other people.
Yeah.
We can't see it in ourselves because
Right.
that's denial. We don't see
Yeah.
it in ourselves. So,
Yes,
like you said, when
exactly.
you're living with people, they will point out those things. And, you know, and that's fine. And I think that's why it's better to be in relationships where we can call each other on things in a loving way and to help each other work on those things so that you can say, hey, I noticed that you're being snippy. Is there something that, you want to talk about, instead of somebody who's not working on their stuff and then attacks you, and then you go back and then it's just this, and nobody's really dealing with the root of the issue and
That's
working on
right.
themselves.
That's right. And this is the biggest issue, that actually this is not just with relationship, then it starts in the family, then in relationship, then it's in politics, it's in everywhere. And then
Mm-hmm.
we turn around and we think that, well, we look at ourselves and we think, but this is why the work needs to start with ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
the responsibility starts with ourselves. So like my mom, what I ended up doing with her is that because when she was losing things, and she loses things, it doesn't happen now as often in the last week, but she did lose something this week. I can't remember what it was, but we did bring it. I did bring it back to her and letting her know, Mom, whatever it is, it's not as important as God right now. Remember, Mom. And then I even went and looked for saints that had mental illness on Google. I said, there's got to be saints. I'm sure they got saints for everything. Okay. So I went and checked the saints that had mental illness. And why is it that those saints that had a mental illness chose good instead of bad? Because we have a will. Even in our worst time, we have a will. Even when we're not well, we have a will to choose either good or bad. Are we going to be aggressive towards one another, or are we going to be nice to one another? It's a will that He's given us, that we're able to choose between right and wrong. Because that we have as soon as we're born. Doesn't matter who it is, we all have it, right or wrong. We all know what it is. Okay.
Well, unless you're a sociopath, you have no
Yeah.
empathy. You don't know
Well,
right from yeah.
yeah, but even the baby, because the
Yeah.
sociopath, like my therapist was telling me, uh, they're not born that way, right? They're made. They're made.
Mhm.
It's like the same thing with many other disorders out there, where people argue scientifically that they're born that way when it's not true. They're not born that way. They are made that way, depending on the environment, especially the way the mother and the father react with each other, if they're coming from single parenthood and all of that. Okay. So basically, I think with her, since we've done that, and I brought up the saints, I showed her the saints, and she read and blah, blah, blah. She's starting to choose, that she's realizing, yes, well, it's true. I do have a will. I don't have to react badly. And so she's having an understanding that she did not have before, because I'm letting her know that eternity is way longer than this life that we have here. This is nothing
Yeah,
here.
it's just a pit stop.
That's all it is. That's all it is. We're here to really develop in order to go into eternity and be with the angels and be with Him. I mean, when you start thinking like that, life is much better, and it is. I'm telling you, she has blossomed, not just by the lecithin, but that has blossomed her because she's at the end of her years, right? Uh, when we're at the end of our years, maybe the fear of death is way bigger than it is when we're only in our 50s and 60s. It's not the same. And so it resonates way more with old people than it would with us, when, because we're still not that old. Although me, I'm older than you. So it resonates with me too. But this is how it is, right? I mean, being wise at 30, it takes a very special kind of person, because we need to live life. What can I say? We all have to fall on our face more than
Yeah.
once or twice, in order to get it. So when you're 86, you would think that at that age they fell on their face quite a lot. They are bruised, no question. So they have a better understanding. And that's why older people are wiser in many aspects, most of the time. Not all, but many
Yeah.
are.
Some people
So,
still will be in that state of denial till the very end, just fighting
yes,
it.
yes,
You know,
yes,
I don't
yes,
know. For me, I noticed that if when we accept the darkness within ourselves and we see that we have dark aspects of ourselves, then we're not as likely to have to point it out on other people. But if we're going to deny it in ourselves, you can't really live in heart. You can't get to the point that you can be more loving unless you can see that you're not a loving person too.
Right, right, exactly. Absolutely. I think that's definitely the way it is. And this is why the work starts, like we said, with us, and really labeling people, or labeling ourselves with any kind of disease or no disease and stuff. It really doesn't go to the root of the problem. And it only actually accentuates fear. So let's say you think you're really copper toxic, and then you see that you're eliminating, but you're not getting better. Well, why is it that I'm not getting better? And I'm
Mhm,
eliminating a lot of these toxic metals and I don't understand. Well, hey, listen, it's a lifetime. It's a
mhm,
lifetime process that we have to learn to have patience. It's a way to exercise virtues. We develop virtues through patience, and we try, and this is how we develop a relationship with our creator, with God. This is how we begin to create a relationship with him, because by developing virtues, we become much more calm, we're more at peace, and we're more loving because of that too, because we become more charitable towards other people.
Well, we're also developing different parts of our personality. So somebody who has a lot of copper will be more feminine, they'll be more emotional, they're not as grounded, you know. So if you enjoy being those things, you're going to accumulate more copper and have a harder time releasing it. So what do? We ground ourselves a little bit more. We express ourselves not so emotionally. You know, it's okay to have emotions. I don't want to say not to have them, but we don't let our emotions control us. So that's a I personally, this is my opinion, that I think that's the best way to balance our minerals, is to understand that there's an opposite for everything. So if you're in one extreme, like how can I bring myself over a little bit? What aspects of my character and personality have I not developed to bring more balance to me?
That's right, exactly. So, I mean, that's a very good point, Michelle. Definitely. It's one of the things that with this program that we offer, it makes a big difference on for many people, actually. It has changed their lives on many ways. They're more aware of many things that they weren't aware of. And it does bring a kind of awareness. But then again, this is where God gives us a will. Then from there, we make the decision of how we're going to be using it and utilizing it, all that awareness. Are we going to be utilizing it for the good, or are we going to utilize it for the bad? And
Mhm,
this is where we need to always do an examination for ourselves, which is like you said, we have to. It's work. Life
yeah,
is work, you know. I
yeah.
mean, I remember when I used to do these 12-step meetings, I had started this 12-step meeting, and people, I like the traditions better than the 12 steps because it was all about business. Because life is about business.
Mhm,
You have to look after business, that you like it or not. The business of yourself
mhm,
starts there, right? It starts with us being responsible. And it's not just with our debts, it's with our own debts that we accumulate as well, physically and emotionally as well, right? So it's the
mhm.
same kind of thing.
Well, this was a good talk.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. I hope people enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll do it some other time soon.
So do,
The
yeah.
Yes, huh? Because I know that now I'm gonna send the link, and I know that we're gonna get a lot of people asking, and uh, I'll send you. Hopefully they'll comment. Don't forget to comment on
Mhm,
Michelle's YouTube, and a thumbs up, and that would be good for her to have. So all these little things helps a lot. And because the more we have some of this and the more comments we have, it encourages us as well to go forward and
right.
give you more content as well.
Mhm,
Right.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then even, you know, some input on some subjects that you'd like us to discuss, we can do that as well. You know, so we kind of like have an idea when we do these, and we just kind of intuitively flow with them. The structure that I think is good when you're providing certain information, and the, I try to do a structured thing, but I personally enjoy us being able to have these discussions and just flow. So whatever, if you have any comments on subjects that you'd like us to discuss, then just leave a comment.
Yes. All right. So listen, maybe we'll see each other in a week or so
Yeah,
again. It
definitely.
was really nice seeing you. I love your background. It looks really nice. Your house looks wonderful. And
But my fake house, I
yeah,
know.
I know. It's
I
really nice.
moved and I don't have a good background right now, so I threw this background up. I'll have to work on that.
It's really nice, actually. It fits with the colors, everything. It fits with you and the colors in the back. Okay, so
Well, you
we'll
have a
talk to
nice
you.
background yourself.
Yeah, not bad. Okay, so we'll talk to you
Bye,
soon.
everybody.
Bye.